HOA Karen destroys my house with a bulldozer, pays the price in court. I don't know if anyone else could truly understand what I felt that day when Karen decided to interfere with my life. I was just sitting there thinking that everything I had worked for over the past few years might be destroyed in an instant. This was my home, my fortress, my pride. I had put my all into it. I spent years on every little detail, every stroke, and then she came and started tearing it all apart. My house isn't just walls and a roof. It's a symbol of my hard work, my independence. It's where I could be myself. I spent years making it what it is. I even restored old doors that seemed impossible to save and designed new windows myself. Everything was thought out to the smallest detail. I was proud of what I had achieved. And now, this house, the one I fought so hard for, was being torn apart by someone who had no right to interfere in my life. Before starting this crazy HOA story, take a pause, subscribe, and share. Also, leave a comment telling me where you're watching from. It's always interesting to see how far these stories travel. Now, let's get started. Karen was a typical member of the local community, wielding unofficial power through her role in the HOA, Homeowners Association. She always saw herself as the queen of the neighborhood, and everything around her had to comply with her rules. She'd come to everyone with decisions, without even asking for permission. But what happened next surpassed all my expectations. It all started, as usual, with her visit. She showed up with a few papers in her hands. Every move she made seemed like an attempt to show her power, as though she was someone important, and everything around had to follow her rules. And there she stood at my doorstep with an expression that promised trouble, saying, "I'm here to inform you that your construction work is violating our community rules. You have to tear everything down." Of course, I wasn't surprised. With her character, it couldn't be any other way. But inside, my anger started growing. This wasn't just an intrusion into my affairs. This was an attempt to ruin everything I had worked so hard for. My heart was racing, but I didn't let my emotions take over. "Sorry, but you're clearly mistaken. I have all the necessary permits for this work, and I'm not violating any rules." "You can't just claim I'm breaking rules without proof," I replied, trying to stay calm. I knew her accusations had no grounds. All my projects had been approved by the local authorities. I had all the paperwork. That was her first mistake, underestimating me. Her facial expression changed. I saw her trying to keep a stern look, but her confidence was beginning to wane. She clearly wasn't expecting this from me, but instead of backing down, she decided to push on. I knew this was her style, always getting her way, even when she was wrong. "I'm calling the police if you don't stop the work. I won't allow this neighborhood to be ruined," she declared, as though she had the right to decide for all of us. I couldn't believe my ears. The police? She was really trying to make me stop doing something I was legally allowed to do? I left her standing at the door and went straight to my lawyer. He immediately confirmed that all my actions were legal. I had all the documents to prove it. He also warned me that, even though I was right, Karen wouldn't back down. She was always determined to get her way, no matter what. The police arrived a few days later. 2 officers got out of their car and walked up to my house. I was ready for this, but I still felt the tension. One of the officers, middle-aged, knocked on the door. "Good afternoon. We got a call from your neighbor, Mrs. Karen, claiming you're violating construction rules. We need to check the situation," he said. I showed him all the necessary documents. "I have all the permits confirming that I'm not violating any rules," I replied. The officer looked over the documents, then turned to me. "Understood, we'll check this with the HOA. Stay here." After some time, the officers returned to me and said, "Your permits are in order. We advise Mrs. Karen to stop interfering, but she can file a lawsuit if she wants." Karen, who was standing nearby, tried to say something again, but the officers interrupted her. "You have no grounds to interfere with this. If you continue, we'll have to take action." The next few days were a real test for me. Not only did I have to fight for my rights, but also for my dignity. Karen started showing up at my place more often. She claimed that my roof didn't meet the standards, that my windows weren't suitable for this neighborhood, and even that the lines of my fence violated HOA rules. She tried to prove that my work was ruining the look of the neighborhood. Her lies were getting more and more absurd, but it didn't stop her. She spread rumors among the neighbors and even began sending anonymous messages, trying to stir up discontent. The feeling of injustice grew. I couldn't just sit and watch my name be slandered. All my efforts could be ruined by her attempts to control other people's lives. I decided to act. My lawyer gathered enough evidence to support my case. We called witnesses who confirmed the legality of my work. All my projects had been approved, and the police confirmed that no laws had been violated. I was ready to go all the way. The trial was long and exhausting. Every day brought new stress and challenges, but I felt like everything I was doing was right. My lawyer was able to prove that Karen had no basis for her accusations. Her demands were completely groundless, and the court confirmed that she had no right to dictate rules that went against the law. But then, something happened that surprised me the most. Karen decided not to stop, even after losing in court. While we got the favorable ruling, she gathered a team of builders and, without warning, called in an excavator. That night, when I wasn't home, she started tearing down my house. Karen had clearly decided to not just destroy my case, but the most valuable thing I had, my home. When I returned home, I saw the excavator tearing down the walls of my house. It felt like I had lost everything I had fought for. All boundaries had been crossed, and I felt like I had to act decisively. I couldn't let this continue. My lawyer and I quickly filed an emergency lawsuit, and this time, things changed in my favor. Karen was held criminally responsible for the illegal demolition of the building and the damages caused. She had to not only compensate me for all the losses, but also pay a fine for her recklessness. The court didn't give her a chance. Karen not only had to pay compensation, but was also forced to fully rebuild my house at her own expense.